no one expected it. One day, John Reardon was standing next to his loyal canine co-star, solving crimes on Hudson and Rex. The next, he was gone. No big announcement, no farewell episode, just silence. Fans began to wonder, why did one of television's most beloved detectives walk away from a show that made him a household name? What could make a man leave behind the character that brought him fame, love, and respect from millions of viewers around the world? Before we can understand why John Reardon left, we need to go back to where it all began. Hudson and Rex wasn't just another police drama. It was a heartwarming story about trust, loyalty, and friendship between a detective and his dog. When the show first aired, people didn't know what to expect. Some thought it might just be another crime series, but what they got was something far more special. At the center of it all was John Reardon, who played Detective Charlie Hudson. With his calm confidence, sharp mind, and easy charm, Reardon brought life to the role. His connection with Diesel, the German Shepherd who played Rex, became the heart of the show. Their bond wasn't just acting, it felt real. Audiences could see it in every scene. The way Hudson trusted Rex's instincts, and the way Rex responded with loyalty and courage, gave the series its emotional depth. John Reardon wasn't new to acting, but Hudson and Rex took his career to another level. Fans adored his character's quiet heroism and intelligence. He wasn't the loud or flashy type. Instead, his strength came from empathy and determination. Viewers across the world started to tune in not just for the crime stories, but to see how Hudson and Rex would work together next. The series became a comfort show for many. Families watched it together. Children loved Rex, while adults admired the storytelling and teamwork. And through it all, John Reardon became more than just an actor. He became the face of the show. The name Hudson became almost inseparable from his own dot. As the seasons went by, Reardon's portrayal grew even more layered. He showed a man who wasn't perfect, a detective haunted by his past but driven to do good. It was easy to root for him. He had warmth, humor, and humanity. Behind every case solved, there was an emotional lesson about courage, loss, or trust. And Reardon delivered those moments with quiet grace. What many fans didn't see, though, was the effort behind the scenes. Long shooting days in Newfoundland, unpredictable weather, and the emotional energy needed to keep the show's spirit alive. John Reardon wasn't just acting. He was leading a series that demanded consistency, empathy, and connection. To carry a show like that isn't easy, and over time, even the strongest actors can begin to feel the weight. But none of that was visible to the audience. On screen, he remained the same, steady, kind, and sharp as ever. When season after season was renewed, fans celebrated, thinking the partnership between Hudson and Rex would continue for many more years. And then, without warning, everything changed. Rumors began to spread online. Fans noticed his absence from new promotional material. Some said he was taking a break. Others feared he was leaving for good. Yet no one seemed to know the truth. What had happened behind closed doors? Was it creative differences, personal reasons, or something deeper? In the quiet gap between episodes, audiences began to speculate. Social media filled with posts. Where's John Reardon? Why isn't he in the new season? Is Hudson gone for good? The mystery off-screen started to feel just as gripping as the ones he used to solve on the show. Little did fans know, the answer wasn't about drama or conflict. It was about something much more personal, something that would remind everyone that behind every beloved character is a real person, making real choices for their life. It started quietly, the kind of silence that feels strange when you've gotten used to hearing someone's voice every week. Fans of Hudson and Rex noticed it first. John Reardon wasn't in the latest interviews. His name wasn't mentioned in the upcoming season teasers. Even on social media, where cast members often share behind-the-scenes photos, his face was missing. At first, people thought it was just a break, maybe a short hiatus, a well-deserved vacation. After all, no one works harder than a leading actor on a long-running show. But as weeks turned into months, the truth began to feel heavier. Something had changed. The moment hit fans hardest when a new season trailer dropped and John Reardon's character, Detective Charlie Hudson, was nowhere to be found. Instead, quick flashes of new faces appeared, different voices delivering the iconic lines that Hudson once made famous. The internet lit up instantly. YouTube comment sections, Reddit threads, and fan pages filled with one question: where is John Reardon? What made it even more mysterious was the lack of an official announcement. The network didn't issue a statement. The show's social media pages remained vague, thanking fans for their support and hinting that new stories were coming. But there was no mention of the actor who had carried the show since day one. To the loyal audience, that silence spoke louder than words. Behind the scenes, some insiders hinted that Reardon's exit wasn't sudden at all, that it had been quietly planned for months. Filming a show like Hudson and Rex was no small task. Long days, outdoor shoots in cold Newfoundland weather, and endless takes to capture those perfect emotional beats. Over time, the constant schedule can take a toll mentally and physically. And for Reardon, who was also a husband and a father, the balance between professional dedication and personal life had begun to shift. While fans speculated about creative disagreements or financial negotiations, the real reason was more human and far less dramatic. According to later reports, John had started feeling the strain of being away from his family for extended periods. The show filmed far from home, and the travel meant long separations from his wife and children. The more the series grew, the more demanding it became. And though he loved the character of Charlie Hudson deeply, there came a moment when he realized something important: no role, no matter how beloved, could replace time with the people who matter most. Still, it wasn't an easy decision. Leaving a show that had become part of his identity wasn't something he could do overnight. Every actor dreams of a role that defines their career. And for Reardon, Hudson was exactly that. He had built a bond not only with Rex, his canine co-star, but with the audience who had grown up watching him. Walking away meant breaking a connection he'd spent years nurturing. Yet, sometimes stepping back is the only way to move forward. When word slowly began to spread that John Reardon was officially leaving Hudson and Rex, fans reacted with a wave of emotion, shock, sadness, and gratitude all at once. Social media flooded with heartfelt messages. "The show won't be the same without him. Charlie Hudson made me believe in kindness and courage again." Others expressed understanding, noting that after giving so much to the series, he deserved the chance to rest and focus on life beyond the camera. Even among his co-stars, the atmosphere was bittersweet. Those who worked closely with him described him as grounded, kind, and completely devoted to his craft. He wasn't just a leading man, he was a quiet leader, the kind who lifted others up instead of standing above them. When he left, it wasn't just the audience who felt the absence. It was the entire production family. But there was beauty in the silence that followed. John Reardon didn't go on a publicity tour to explain himself. He didn't post a long emotional statement online or seek attention. Instead, he chose to leave with dignity, quietly, gracefully, just as he had played Charlie Hudson all those years. That calm departure said more about his character than any press release ever could, and yet, the mystery remained. Fans couldn't help but wonder, what exactly pushed him to make the final decision? Was it purely personal? Was there something happening behind closed doors that no one saw? As the show moved forward with new storylines and different characters, a part of the audience held on to hope maybe one day Detective Hudson would walk back through that door, Rex by his side, ready to solve one more case. But whether that happens or not, the truth is that John Reardon's exit marked the end of an era. Hudson and Rex would continue, but something about its heart had shifted. Because for so many viewers, the magic of the show wasn't just in the stories or the mysteries. It was in the quiet friendship between a man and his dog, brought to life by an actor who gave it soul. And as fans searched for answers, John Reardon prepared to share, at last, his own side of the story. not through gossip or rumor, but through honesty and reflection. The world was about to find out what really led him to walk away from the role that defined him. When John Reardon finally decided to speak, he didn't make a big show of it. There was no emotional press conference, no dramatic social media post with a long caption. Instead, his explanation came quietly, almost like his personality measured, thoughtful, and sincere. It wasn't the kind of story meant to shock or stir controversy. It was the story of a man who had spent years giving everything to his craft, only to realize that somewhere along the way, he had left a part of himself behind. In an interview months after his exit, Reardon opened up about the decision that had stunned fans. He admitted that stepping away from Hudson and Rex wasn't an easy choice. It was one of the hardest of his life. But as he spoke, you could tell this wasn't about fame, money, or ego. It was about balance. You reach a point, he said, where you start to look at what really matters to you. The long hours, the constant travel. It starts to blur everything else. His words were calm, but they carried the weight of exhaustion and reflection. For years, Hudson and Rex had been filmed in Newfoundland, Canada, far from the hustle and comfort of home. The breathtaking landscapes that fans saw on screen, the snowy forests, the rugged coastlines were as beautiful as they were isolating. John had spent countless months there, often away from his family, missing birthdays, school events, and the small moments that make up an ordinary life. To him, the show wasn't just a job. It was a commitment that consumed nearly every part of his schedule. And eventually, the distance began to feel heavier than the success it brought. He spoke about how much he loved the show, the crew, and his co-star Diesel, the German shepherd who played Rex. Their connection was genuine, not just for the cameras. Between takes, John would often be seen playing with Diesel, treating him less like a prop and more like a true partner. It's hard to walk away from something like that, he admitted. But even the best roles don't last forever. What truly made the decision personal was his family. Reardon is known to be deeply private, but those close to him have often described him as a devoted husband and father. He didn't talk much about his personal life publicly, yet when he mentioned them during the interview, his tone softened. You start to realize that the moments you miss can't be redone, he said. And sometimes, being there for your family means stepping back from what the world expects of you. The truth was simple, yet powerful. After years of giving his best to Hudson and Rex, Reardon wanted to give his best to something else's own life. The endless production schedule, early morning calls, and long shooting days in unpredictable weather had started to wear on him. He had achieved what many actors dream of: recognition, stability, and a beloved role. But behind all that success, there was a quiet longing to live without the constant rhythm of filming. To wake up without a call sheet, to just be John for a while. Not Detective Hudson. What fans didn't know was how much pressure comes with leading a show. The responsibility of keeping a series alive, of carrying the emotional tone, of being the face that millions recognize. It can be thrilling, but it's also relentless. Every scene demands your energy, every episode your focus. And when that continues for years, even the strongest hearts can feel the fatigue. John wasn't burned out in the traditional sense. He was simply ready to breathe again. He didn't leave with bitterness or regret. There was no feud, no creative fallout, no behind-the-scenes drama. Just a quiet realization that it was time. He expressed deep gratitude to the cast and crew, calling them a family I'll always cherish. He even spoke fondly of the fans, acknowledging their love and loyalty. The fact that people cared so much about Hudson means we did something right, he said. That's all an actor can really hope for. As the interviewer pressed further, asking if he might ever return to the show, John smiled a small, knowing smile. Never say never, he replied, but for now, I'm exactly where I need to be. That single line gave fans a glimmer of hope. But it also closed the chapter gracefully. In truth, his departure was not about loss, it was about growth. It was the story of a man choosing peace over pressure, presence over performance. It was about learning that sometimes stepping away from something you love doesn't mean you've given up on it. It just means you've given yourself permission to rest. For those who had followed Hudson and Rex from the beginning, Reardon's explanation added depth to what they already admired about him. His decision reflected the same integrity and compassion that his character, Detective Hudson, showed on screen. The fictional detective chased justice. The real John Reardon chased balance. Both choices required courage, and though the cameras stopped rolling for him, his presence still lingered in the heart of the show. Every episode that followed carried traces of his influence, the calm intelligence, the quiet strength, the sense of empathy that defined Charlie Hudson. Even as new faces joined the cast, fans couldn't help but feel his absence like a missing heartbeat. In the end, John Reardon didn't just leave a television series. He reminded everyone watching that behind the fame and storytelling, there is a person trying to live truthfully. And sometimes, the bravest thing that person can do is walk away. The moment John Reardon's departure became official, a wave of emotion swept across the Hudson and Rex community like a sudden storm. It wasn't the kind of news fans were ready for, and maybe they never could have been. Within hours, the internet turned into a sea of heartbreak, gratitude, and disbelief. Across every corner of social media, one message echoed louder than the rest: it won't be the same without him. The Hudson and Rex fandom had always been more like a family than a fan base. People didn't just watch the show, they lived it. They followed every case, memorized every quote, and adored the friendship between Charlie Hudson and Rex. To them, it wasn't simply a fictional partnership, it was something genuine. Something that made the world feel a little kinder. So when John's absence became undeniable, it felt as though someone had quietly turned out a light that had been burning for years. At first, fans didn't want to believe it. Many clung to the hope that it was temporary, that maybe John was just taking a break and would reappear mid-season, stepping back onto the screen with that calm confidence and warm smile. Threads filled with speculation. Maybe Hudson's undercover. Maybe it's a surprise twist. But as the episodes rolled out, that hope began to fade, replaced by acceptance and admiration. Because even in leaving, John Reardon had done something deeply human. He chose peace. What made his exit even more powerful was how gracefully both he and his co-stars handled it. No drama, no gossip, no bitterness. The people who had worked beside him for years spoke about him not as a coworker, but as a friend. Mako Nguyen, who played Sarah Trong, described him in one interview as the kind of person who always makes the room lighter. Others echoed her sentiment, calling him grounded, humble, and incredibly patient. On set, he wasn't just a lead, he was a steady presence. Someone who led by quiet example rather than authority. Behind the camera, crew members remembered how he treated everyone with the same respect, from producers to assistants. There were stories of him staying late to help rehearse scenes, of sharing jokes during long shooting days in freezing temperatures, of offering encouragement when someone was having a rough day. Those small gestures built a bond that went far beyond a television set. So when he left, it wasn't just the audience who felt the absence. It was the entire Hudson and Rex family. Fans began creating tribute videos, sharing montages of his best moments as Detective Hudson. YouTube filled with compilations titled Charlie and Rex, The Heart of the Show and Thank You. John Reardon. Each clip was a love letter, edited with care and emotion, soft music, emotional scenes, and comments from people all over the world. I started watching this show during a hard time in my life, one fan wrote. John's character reminded me that kindness isn't weakness. Another said, he made me believe in good people again. It wasn't just about an actor leaving a show. It was about what his performance had meant to people: comfort, hope, and connection. Even Diesel, the dog who played Rex, unintentionally became part of the farewell. Fans shared behind-the-scenes photos of John and Diesel together, captioning them like real-life best friends parting ways. Rex will miss him, someone wrote under a photo of them sitting side by side between takes. And though Diesel couldn't speak, his loyalty mirrored what the audience felt: a quiet, unwavering love. The network eventually released a short statement thanking Reardon for his contribution, calling him an essential part of the show's heart. It was brief, but it captured the truth. Without his presence, Hudson and Rex was stepping into a new era, one that would always carry the imprint of the man who built its foundation. The new cast and crew members spoke about the pressure and privilege of carrying forward what John helped create. They didn't want to replace him. They wanted to honor him. As time passed, fans slowly adjusted. They still missed him, but many also expressed support for his decision. He gave us 5 incredible seasons. One viewer wrote, "If this is what he needs for his happiness, then he deserves it." Others continued to hold on to hope, whispering that maybe one day he'd return, even just for a guest appearance. One more case, one last goodbye scene with Rex. That hope became a comforting thought, like the final chapter of a story left open, just in case. But beyond the tears and tributes, something beautiful emerged: respect. The audience didn't turn on him for leaving. They understood him more deeply because of it. His choice reminded them that even their heroes have real lives, lives filled with love, exhaustion, and longing. The same empathy that Charlie Hudson showed on screen was now being reflected back at John Reardon in real life.